Save your cash because the housing crash could be around the corner. Hey everybody, Scott Walters. Thanks for checking into another video. Before I get into the topic, I want you to please hit the like button, leave me a comment, and subscribe to the channel. It would really help me a lot. I do these for fun. I enjoy it, but I really need your help in order to spread the message to get people on board with what I hope is going to help them. So one of the things that we are dealing with right now is the biggest housing bubble that has ever been seen. And that should scare you. I could stop the video right there. That is true. If you don't feel like we're in the biggest housing bubble, then you haven't lived through other downturns in the economy or the housing market. So one of the things is that back in the 2008 housing crash, that was insanely horrible, for myself included. I went through housing woes in that 08 crash. Most people, and as a real estate agent who works in real estate 24/7, 365, there's been times where I've talked to people, and that is a subject I like to avoid. Is in terms of the psychology of sales, that is one subject that I try to avoid because there's a good chance if somebody's been around for a while, they were touched by that housing crash and it left a very bad taste in their mouth. For me, I'm still rebounding from the 08 crash. Now, I am super fortunate to have rebounded the way I have, and I didn't get hit as hard as others, but I remember it like it was yesterday. So one of the things that we're dealing with now is the most stimulated housing market we've ever seen, and we never like to see markets get euphoric. The stock market got euphoric, now it's on the decline. Crypto's got euphoric, now it's on the decline. All the financial markets will have their peaks and valleys. So for most people now, what they're trying to do is time the peaks and the valleys, right? We want to buy it when markets are low and sell when they're high. And we've all heard the stories of these successful people that have been able to do that, but they are the exception. Many more people get hurt in these markets than become successful. So one of the things why I'm saying the housing market is potentially going to set itself up to fail is that right now there are too many things being delayed. The mortgage forbearance program has allowed people to stop paying their mortgage. And now while their properties are probably worth a decent amount of money, so if they're forced to sell, they're probably going to come out ahead. The reality is that due to the pandemic, a bunch of jobs went away and didn't come back, and people stopped making their payment, not because they wanted to, because they had to. Then you have the renter population, which makes up a huge percentage of the housing market. And many people, because either they wanted to or they had to, haven't had to make their rent payment. And guess what the government's done with both those programs? They've pushed them out to where they're still able to do that. Homeless population has skyrocketed. Well, why is that? Because now we have many people's jobs didn't come back and they weren't in a position to take advantage of a mortgage forbearance or rental eviction ban, and they ended up on the streets. Then we have the wild marketplace as the stock market and cryptos that people have been taking stimulus money and investing it in there. And if they didn't time it right, they squandered their stimulus money. This is not good, folks. This is all bad. And then to top it off, we have basically the government sending parachutes of fake money injected into the economy. This is not good. It's devalued the dollar, and we set ourselves up for inflationary pain in the future. If you walk down any major city, county in our nation, you will see for lease signs in almost every other window on average of companies that just yesterday, I went downtown Santa Barbara to get some poke bowl, right? And closed. Then I went to go to the sushi place across the street at the mall. Closed. Every other store had a sign in the window. And this is in Santa Barbara where there's a massive amount of wealth. And this is just, I won't even tell you about my drive through LA. my goodness, that was just, and it's so ridiculous because you used to pay to live at these places, whether it's Hollywood, LA, in these popular coastal communities, because the lifestyle was so great. But when you mask people and they feel like they're afraid of each other, then these places are less desirable. So now you've got that compiled with this. So there is a much higher likelihood than we will see a real estate crash than ever before. There is no way it can stay on this climb up. It can't do it forever. It eventually has to pay the piper. And that is exactly what we're going to see. Now, there's a good chance we might, and there's 3 levels of a housing downturn. You're going to have what's called a correction, guaranteed correction, which is usually maybe a 10% reduction. If the government raises the interest rates on mortgages 1%, we'll see an automatic 10% decline in property values. That would constitute a correction. Then you have a recession. And a recession is when, let's say, the mortgage forbearance, eviction bans, and other economic components come into play and force inventory onto the market, and then all of a sudden we see 40% reductions in value. Well, that's a recessionary. It's a recessionary level of devaluing the markets. And then lastly would be a full-blown depression, like we haven't seen since, well, I don't even know because I was alive, but in the 20s, there was the Great Depression. And that was like, basically, if your properties would lose 80% of their value. And they say depressions cycle about every 100 years. So we are, if you do that math, due for a depression. So there's a much higher likelihood that we will see some sort of crash, correction, depression. Something's coming, because it can't just keep climbing the way it's been climbing, especially after coming off of this pandemic. So that is really, and as a real estate agent, I deal with customers every day. I was on the phone today. I was on a sales meeting today, talking to people that want to buy. And I'm very transparent with them. I say, it's not going to hurt you to wait. It's not going to hurt you. Right now, I swear, and everybody's got buyers. All agents have buyers wanting to buy. And I've got my share of them. And, personally, I've always said this, and I still believe it. You don't get hurt in real estate when you buy at the wrong time. Buying right now is not going to hurt you, only if you have to turn around and sell. If you sell at the wrong time, right? So if you're buying now and capitalizing on the cheap money, and it pencils out for you, and you got your job secure, it's investment property, and the renters are going to be making the payment, and you've got that secure, you're fine. And eventually, even if we had the crash right now, it went down 50% tomorrow for $1 million home goes down to $500,000. That's basically what we saw in 2008. Well, in 10 years, that thing's going to be back up at its value again, and then some. So you always want to buy stuff to hold. And so as long as you hold, this, like with your stocks right now, if you got some stocks that are down, you hold them, right? You sit on them. Same thing's true with real estate. 95% of all millionaires made their money in real estate. So it's always going to be the best platform in order to build your wealth. So don't be afraid of buying now. Just don't buy it. Don't drink the Kool-Aid that this market can last forever. Because while it may continue on, it's eventually going to have to correct at minimum, recession potentially, and a depression quite possibly could happen. You just have to be a realist. So that's what we're doing today, folks. We're going to become realists. We're not going to ignore these things. We're not going to put our heads in the sand. We're going to understand it and hopefully take advantage of it where possible by being savvy, clear-headed, balanced, not get rich quick, earn your wealth mentality. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm Scott Walters. Please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment below, and we'll see you soon.